Thank you very much, Alexander and Alberto, for this great talk. And as promised, so please see a few illustrative case studies. The first one connected to the first practical scenario Alexander just showed. When a company wants to open a tailored software R&D center near shore. Please meet a company called BigCommerce. This is one of the biggest provider, actually a platform for online businesses. So they have around 1,000 employees worldwide, an office in London, in San Francisco, 2 offices in Austin, Texas, in Sydney, Australia. Anyway, it was a disaster to find at least one good developer, for example, in the United States or in the UK. Since their management had some experience, doing outsourcing in Romania and in Ukraine, exactly. So they decided to move on with Ukraine, but they actually wanted to open their own legal entity even in Ukraine. So they decided not to go with some resources from provider, but instead to hire their own resources, their own talents and people. They needed some provider in Ukraine, some partner, just to navigate the country and to navigate the local opportunities. So they chose Alcor, and what we essentially did for them, we helped them to find the right office in Kyiv. This is the capital of Ukraine, and roughly a half of the whole industry is located in Kyiv. It is Regis, so a well-known co-working space area in Kyiv, and they are happy with this office. The second is recruiting of people. This is absolutely exciting because we help them to hire 60 developers within just 9 months. So it's astonishing. So I mean, CTO at BigCommerce just absolutely proud, while reporting in board meetings and so on. So we have pretty strong recruiting team. It's 15 people, recruiters, researchers, and we've done this job for BigCommerce. Legal, it's again really important. It's just a kind of some spoiler to the next slide, but anyway, they a few weeks ago announced IPO to Nasdaq, and the previous slide, Alexander. What does it mean? It means that just need to be like 100% in a safe harbor doing operations in Ukraine from both perspectives, actually, from local Ukrainian legislation and from the US legislation, at least. And since, for example, me personally, I graduated from Berkeley, University of California, and I'm a vice president on legal matters at Association IT Ukraine, which is the biggest IT community in Ukraine. So we do possess this expertise, and so we help them to go IPO recently. The last bullet here, it's payments and accounting. Of course, they finally didn't register any legal entity, so they just pay one single invoice a month, and then Alcor process everything. As I just told, so they on August 4th they went IPO, and it was really successful IPO for them. It's like, if I remember correctly, now they trade for like 4 times prices of stocks more than they just announced at the beginning. PX, this is another great example of, it's a company from Netherlands, actually a marketing platform for customer acquisitions. They already, had a software development team in Ukraine with another provider, but because of the pandemic situation, they decided to cut like 20% budget cut, and it was just in the March. So nobody knew at that point, is it the last cut or is just the beginning? And the main challenge was not transparent pricing, because so usually you just got some, cap fee for everything, and you don't know what exactly, you pay for and how you can manage that. So they just decided to look around, and were advised to talk with Alcor again as well. What was the result? So the result was 30% cut, what is the most important. So they even managed to hire a couple more developers as a result. This is because this is, again, absolutely exciting for them. So they even increased the number of talents in Ukraine as a result.
Okay, hello everyone, and thank you for staying with us. On my side, I would like to focus more on agile service and value-driven delivery, and to show you how, by using several specific services that software vendor provides, you can quickly launch new products to the market. So MindK is a custom software development company. We help clients around the globe to create new projects as well as digitize their businesses. And for the last 11 years, we've been focusing on full cycle product development rather than outstaffing or outsourcing our engineers to client teams. But before we start with the business cases, I would also like to briefly explain what agile is for those of you who just heard about this term but never used the chance to try it in IT projects. So agile is a project management methodology that was built to help you create and respond to change. As Alexander and Alberto mentioned several times today, we live in uncertain and turbulent times. So the tools and methodologies that we use, both from client and from the vendor side, should correspond to the environment we are in now. And the agile, together with a variety of its methodologies, techniques, and frameworks, are kind of built to help us develop projects in the new reality. And that is proved by statistics. A lot of companies that adopted agile state that they see increase in their revenue and profit. And even more companies say that if agile is implemented across the entire organization, they see even more benefits for them. So agile is built on four very simple principles. They are: individuals and interactions are more important than processes and tools. That means that your team, people, communication, collaboration within a team motivation are more important than what tools and processes you use. A working product has more value than comprehensive documentation. Customer collaboration is more important than contract negotiation. With agile, it's extremely important to involve stakeholders from the customer side to work on the project together with the project team. I would say that agile is impossible without this factor. And of course, responding to change has much more value than following the already defined plan. I guess you all would agree that all four principles perfectly fit into an environment where we need to still create and deliver projects. Even if you haven't heard about agile or the traditional project management model waterfall, I'm sure that you used them or some aspects of them when you worked on your projects in the past. So waterfall is a traditional project management methodology that is built on a principle that every next phase of project execution cannot be started until the previous one is fully finished and accepted by all project stakeholders. For software development projects, that would mean, for example, that the design phase cannot be started until all the documents, all the specifications, wireframes, and requirements are finished, reviewed, and approved by all stakeholders. As you can imagine, it adds some kind of bureaucracy, and your project becomes inflexible. While with Agile, you work on short iterations. Usually they last from 3 to 4 weeks. And within each iteration, you analyze, define, design, develop, test, and launch a new version of your product to production. So when, for example, 50% of a project is done and you use a waterfall, you still cannot release that project to production simply because you haven't passed through all the phases. For example, in the software development, the final testing hasn't been done yet, so you cannot be sure that the product is stable to show it to the market. While with Agile, literally after each iteration, which again can be 3-4 weeks, even 2 weeks, quite often you can launch new functionality to the market, test it, gather feedback from real customers, and take that feedback into account for your future developments. So I think that the waterfall traditional model is more useful for long-term strategical planning, which is probably not a big option these days when company don't plan further too much. While Agile is mostly used in turbulent environments, and we are actually in this environment right now. As Alexander mentioned before, Agile is widely used in IT and has been used for many years. And now we see that it moves to non-IT businesses as well. Alexander mentioned several service-based development practices, and I would like to focus on 2 of them. The first one is proof of concept. The goal of any proof of concept development is to validate that some concept or theory has actually practical potential. Usually proof of concept development projects are quite short. They are relatively cheap. It's easy to set up goals because you have limited amount of functionality. And most software development providers can deliver this kind of services on a fixed price basis. That means for you as a customer having less risks, but at the same time having an ability to test out some concept before engaging with a vendor on a long-term basis. One of our clients is a young startup from California. They are musicians, film and video producers, creative people that wanted to revolutionize the musical beats industry. They wanted to change how people create, buy and sell those beats. However, when they talked to potential customers as well as potential investors, they couldn't prove that the idea they have has some practical implementation, and that the implementation would be user-friendly enough so that people will change the way they work with those beats. So together with our client, we created a proof of concept application. It's a Tinder-like app for crafting music. The project was completed in just 5 weeks with a pretty reasonable budget. After that, our client was able to actually prove that the idea is worth investment. They're talking to several investors right now, but in the meantime, we have already started working on the fully functional version. The next service, and probably the most popular one among IT providers, is minimum viable product development. I'm sure you all heard about this term many times. In essence, it's just a version of a product which has just enough features to launch the product to production, get a feedback from end customers, and use that feedback for further development. Usually, when creating scope for minimum viable product, only the most clear, understandable features are selected. And that is good both for the provider and for you as a customer, because you also mitigate risk by including only features that you are sure how they function, and the end result is kind of more or less expected. And that also allows many IT vendors to give you a precise estimation for minimum viable product, and by doing that, you also having like less risk, and you kind of don't invest too much upfront before you get to work with the provider. Our other client is a startup from California, funded by Silicon Valley investors. They're building a platform to manage remote workforce. The project is quite big and comprehensive. It has several modules. For example, recruitment module, employee onboarding, comprehensive invoicing and online payments solution, document library management, facility management, inventory database. It has inbuilt chat system with a very flexible and comprehensive notification system. As you can see, the project is quite complicated and feature rich, but despite that, together with our client, we were able to build a fully functional and production ready MVP of this product just within 3 months. And it's also worth mentioning that the project was started at the beginning of the pandemic, so the whole team was kind of moved to remote mode just at the beginning. Despite that, we were able to deliver it within the defined time frame. So with both cases, proof of concept and MVP 1, I can tell that we managed to deliver something quickly and within a fixed amount of time and money, only because we collaborated with our client almost on a daily basis. And like I said before, that's from my side, that's kind of a requirement for any agile project, to involve stakeholders during project implementation. Otherwise, agile is kind of useless to some extent when this doesn't happen. So let's summarize benefits of agile. The first and probably the most important one is with agile, you get faster time to market, and we all want this these days. Also, by doing short iterations and by constantly getting feedback from real customers, it's easier to identify risk at earlier phases of product development, and to be able to avoid or mitigate that risk earlier than usually. With agile, you focus on business value and you focus on the users. And like I said, stakeholder engagement is crucial with agile. it's a demand to move your project by agile, but it's also a benefit, because by involving stakeholders during project implementation, you are more sure that what you deliver is what is expected. And of course, if we sum all these benefits, we'll get another one, which is also crucial, is faster response to change that we all want these days. And again, that's proved by statistics. For example, the annual state of survey state of agile survey, conducted last year showed that most of the respondents have a better ability to manage changing priorities. They say they have better project visibility. They see better alignment between business and IT. And many of them mentioned the reduction of project cost. Agile and service-based delivery are big topics themselves. That's why for those executives that have never used Agile but wanted to start doing that in the most efficient way, we wrote a short guide. It's a completely free and will take you only 2 hours to read. Please feel free to go to our website and download it from the homepage.
So the question is, when talking about MVP, do you care about design and logo and things like that, or you focus on one functionality that you need to get feedback from customers? How would you comment on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that it depends on your target audience. For example, if you build a product for designers or creative people, and the product should improve their experience from using different tools, then design, or at least UX, should be a part of MVP. I'm not sure that logo is so crucial, but UX is something that is critical. For example, business case that I mentioned during my presentation for musicians and creative people. Even for the proof of concept, we made design, because design and user experience, that actually was one of the key features. The way people will interact with the mobile app, was quite innovative for them, in comparison to the old-fashioned musical tools, online tools they used to create and sample those beats. So I guess that's that depends on the target audience. But for proof of concept, not MVP in general, I would say that it's more important to focus on functionality than on user interfaces. Hope that answered the question.
Yeah, I think so, and I fully back what you just said, because when we are talking MVP, it's a process when we need to work closely with end users, focus groups, and with all the key internal business stakeholders. And end users of the software which being built by the external vendor, they never buying requirements, right? They're never buying text, they're buying experience. And in most of the cases, the representation of this experience is user interface, something they can touch and feel and experience themselves and provide a feedback. So therefore, it's very important not to evaluate the importance of having a user experience and user interface specifically. When you deliver in the MVP. Of course, functionality is the key, but if this even super important functionality delivered in a way that is hard to consume, or is not fun, frankly speaking, even though we are talking about internal corporate applications, it's definitely decreasing the value of the application and the project being implemented. So hopefully we shed some light on what is our view on the situation with the markets, both on the demand and supply side of IT services, specifically software development, integration, and building a capacity and capability to digitalize existing businesses, or maybe build new businesses as well. And hopefully you can learn something valuable for you from the practical scenarios, which we covered from a theoretical standpoint. However, the theory behind that is something we derived from our practical experience with our clients over the course of last year, I would say. There are some new developments, but as Alberto mentioned, not many problems in reality, they are new. So they're rather typical, and they just boosted in a very aggressive way by the pandemic. So therefore, there is always room for improvement. And if you're looking for ways to optimize your IT operations and the IT spend, we are more than happy to help. I also welcome you to join our Demystifying Digital series. They are free webinars and no technical knowledge required, strictly. So this is for business people who want to learn more about agile, specifically artificial intelligence, blockchain, Internet of Things, chatbots, big data, and all the other big words in the digital world, which I tend to believe they're always mystified by IT experts, and we see our role in demystification of those terms and explaining to businesses how they can benefit from that, or what kind of opportunities and challenges brought by those technologies to their business environment and the corporate landscape.